So when the Bible says to remember those in bonds, he's not talking about that poor, innocent child molester. Amen. He's going to get the gospel. He's remembering that man in jail. And there are many times we go out to a preach, and that's part of the pep talk. You may wind up in jail. That's the concept. If you're a fireman, you're going to get burnt. If you're a police officer, you might get shot. You're a street preacher, you better understand the concept of being arrested. And don't let me catch you screaming like a little girl about your rights. You take it like a man. You submit, you turn around, you assume the position. As an unbeliever, I was never arrested. As a Christian, I can't remember the amount of times I've been arrested. It's amazing, but it's in the Bible. I don't ask for it. I usually try to talk my way out of it. But if you get arrested, put your Bible in your mouth, raise your head, and don't worry, eventually we'll get you out. You are now tasting of the Bible. It's amazing how you may think you're prepared for it. But sitting in the back of that squad car, you know, it makes you now taste of the Bible. Which brings us to Brother Mikhail. Here's a brother who sat in a jail cell for almost 3 weeks, maybe 3 weeks plus. And we were doing whatever we can to get this man out. I'll talk a little bit more about that after he's done. But here's a man, and you'll find out what he did in that jail cell. And this is something you talk about. Last days, brother, this is going to happen. Well, last days is poking you right here, rubbing you right here. And so when this man was in jail for that length of time, let me tell you something. We had a lot of people praying, and I find it a great honor to work with this young man.
All right, I'm Brother Mikhail, the Russian street preacher.
Amen.
You know, I'm just so amazed to be here today. It's a great honor to be in front of you, to speak God's word, to share what's God done in my life. You know, in a million years, I would have never imagined myself to be here. You know, in high school, I was voted the least person to succeed at anything. You know, everybody always looked down on me. No talent, got nothing in your life, got nothing going for you, got no money, got nothing. But you know, God wants to do something with our life. And I believe through this conference, through us sharing what God has done in our life, God wants to take us to a new level. God wants to increase our faith. And if God's going to increase our faith, if we're going to get stronger in God, we're going to have to go through some tests in our life. You know, and God's put me through some tests. God already, as Ruben already shared, put him through some tests, and that made him a stronger man. And what's going to make us stronger men and women is when we face trials and tribulations in our life. And I'm just thankful to be here. You know, in this country that we live in, you know, we talk about persecution and stuff like that, but we have so much privilege in this country, it's unimaginable. You know, I was born in Russia in 1988. And the people that tried street preaching in Russia back in that day, they maybe last 10 minutes street preaching, and then they would go to jail for 20 years. So the great privilege that we have here in America is just insane. You know, we do have persecution in this country, but compared to all the times before, we just have such great opportunity day in, day out to go out to the streets. And, you know, most of the time we'll be protected. Most of the time, you know, we're not going to get in trouble. You know, so I was not born in this country. I was born in Russia in 1988. A beautiful, beautiful blue-eyed boy was born into a communist country. You know, full of persecution. I grew up in a Christian family. My dad was a pastor of a small local church. You know, many times they wanted to throw him in jail, persecute him. He had a family of 3 kids, and they wanted to jail him for his faith. And so my dad experienced some trial and tribulations in his life, but he stood for the truth. That's what God calling us today, to stand up for the truth. And in 1997, I got invited to come into the land of the free. Here I made it to the USA, you know, always going to churches, but all my life just always being a hypocrite. And there's nothing worse than a church hypocrite. Someone that always goes to church, always knows what's right, but rejects the truth. You know, all my life I rejected the truth, wanted to do my own thing. I thought Christianity is boring. But now that I started street preaching, this is the most exciting thing I've ever done in my life. Going out, serving Jesus, doing what I was supposed to do. And you know, I always went to church, and then When I was 18 years old, God really spoke to me, convicted me of my sin. You know, I was, doing anything I could, partying, drinking, smoking, getting high. And then God really spoke to me when I was 18 years old. A Wednesday after a church service, I finally bowed my knee to Jesus Christ, and God made me a new person. And many people in my church, but they might profess to be Christians. Some people say they're Christians, but God really changed my life. And anybody I would meet afterward, they would say, "Hey, Mikhail, you're really different." I started to get involved in church. I started to help out whatever I can. I started to preach in church, and people said, "Mikhail, I never thought that you had that in you. I never thought that was possible." A lot of people had great hopes in me, I think, in my life. But God believes in me. That's the main thing. And I started to do anything I could, preach in church, but my great desire was to reach the lost, reach the people that are out there. And I started watching videos of different people out preaching on the streets. And I read the Bible. I read about Jesus, and I said, that's what Jesus Christ is doing. And I said, I want to do that. For about a year and a half, I watched all these videos of all these people, and I said, that's what God is calling me to do. That's what I want to do. I never had any people around me who can go with me, who can go preach with me. I heard of people somewhere over there, but nobody is ever with me. And it was close to New Year's, and I went out to Portland, Oregon. I just picked a random day to go out on the street to preach. I was just going to go out, maybe just share a little word. Hopefully it's not going to get too crazy. And the first time that I went out to preach on the street, I went to Pioneer Square, and the event that was going on there was the Portland Christmas tree lighting. And that was one of the biggest events pretty much of the year, where there's so many people out there. And I went out there, I quoted some scripture, I raised my voice, and I began to preach. I wasn't, maybe probably wouldn't have made a great YouTube video, but God used that in my life to go on further and further. And after watching some of these videos, I want to say that, man, I want to meet some of these people. I want to meet these guys. I watched some preachers, and I said, hey, I like those guys. And I watched some YouTube videos of Brother Ruben, and I said, I don't know about that guy. And I watched some videos of Brother Jed, and I said, I don't know about these guys. But the problem is, I never met these guys. All I did was just hear things about these people, but I never heard their testimony. I never heard about their life. And a couple of years ago, Brother Jed was passing out University of Oregon, and I came out, and I went out there, and Brother Jed just threw me in, and there, and I preached for a whole 5 minutes and ran out of things to say. And but now I don't have that problem. I'll go on campus now, preach for 5-6 hours, and it's a true blessing. So this spring, Brother Jed and I, we were preaching at UC Irvine. And we were almost done. It was almost 5 o'clock. We're packing. We were getting ready to go move on to a different campus. And there happened an altercation with Joshua, where somebody tried to grab some papers out of his hand. And so the officers came out. They're like, and I was like, I know what happened. I witnessed this. He's like, okay, let me see your ID. So I show him my ID. He checks everything, and he comes up to me and he says, do you know that you have a warrant out for you out of Louisiana? And I was like, no way. And he's like, yeah, well, we're going to call this in, and we'll find out what this is about. Probably they don't want to take you in. This is just probably just some weird thing that's happening, so they probably don't want to take you in. So they call it in, and about 30 minutes later, they said, yeah, they want to take you in. Turn around, you're under arrest. They cuffed me, put me by the car. Everybody's wondering what's happening. What did Mikhail do? And I'm not even sure what happened. What's going on? So they took me to the university jail, booked me over there, and many people ask, what did you go to jail for? What do people usually go to jail for? And I want to say, nobody ever goes to jail for being a Christian. You're never ever going to go to jail for preaching the gospel. You're never ever going to go to jail for being a Christian. You're going to go to jail for disorderly conduct, for a criminal. They're going to say just some kind of charges on you. You're a murderer, you're a rapist. And that's what we as Christians got to expect. We got to expect slander that happens. And so they took me in, they're trying to figure out, they booked me, so they're finally taking me to Orange County Jail. And the officer, he's all telling me, just make sure you don't have anything on you. No weapons, no drugs, make sure you're clean. And I'm thinking, I wasn't selling crack on the street over there. I was preaching the gospel. And so they take you in there and they ask you, you have tattoos, or you have a gang affiliation. They search you in, they put you in the cell. And for about 20 hours, this booking process happens where they take you from cell to cell and they're trying to process you. And this guy, he calls me up, tries to process me, get my fingerprints. And he's like, so what are you in here for? And I was like, well, preaching the gospel. And, him and his other friend were standing there and he was like, well, what kind of things do you preach against? And one of his friends was like, fornication. And I was like, yeah, that's right. We preach against fornication, homosexuality, all kinds of things. And he's like, well, homosexuality is actually not in the Bible. That's just a made-up thing. And I said, well, 1 Corinthians chapter 6, Romans chapter 1. And he's like, well, you're like one of those Westboro guys. You're like really hateful and everything. And while all this is going on, these guys are just like cussing everybody out over there. And they treat you, because I didn't do anything, and I'm getting treated just like all these other guys in there. And they're like, don't go over there, you beep beep beep, go over here. I was like, I'm not from here. I don't usually go here. And for about 20 hours they process you. You just get to, they have this concrete slab that you get to lay down and try to fall asleep or lean your head some kind against the wall while all these other people are throwing up and cussing and falling over, passing out, doing God knows what. And you're surrounded by all these people. So after 20 hours trying to get some sleep, and they process you, they finally give you your orange jumpsuit. And they take me into a cell. I was thinking you're gonna have a cell of, like 2-3 people. They take me into a cell of like 70 people.
Right.
Like 70% Hispanic and the other white. And they take me in there, and this guy, one of the main guys, he takes me in, he shows me around. He's like, hey, this is how you take a shower, this is how you wash your hands, this is what you do. So it's like a whole new world. It's not like, I guess it's kind of like youth camp, except these people are criminals, and there's a lot of bunk beds everywhere, and everything's exposed. The bathroom's right there in front of 70 people where you get to go to the bathroom, take a shower in front of everybody. So you're definitely way open. And this guy comes up to me and he's telling me all these things, and he's like, so you got any drugs? Anything? I was like, no, I don't do that. I'm a Christian. And they give me a bunk bed. I never done this before. I've seen some movies or something. I don't really know what to expect. So I lay down on my bunk bed, and on the top of my bunk bed is this huge picture of Satan with a needle in his arm, a bottle, a crack pipe over here, and I'm thinking, oh man, what I got myself into over here. And I just started, talking with the guys over there. Everybody's a Christian in jail. Everyone's a Christian. Everybody got the Christian tattoos on their back. I didn't have one of those, so I guess I was kind of lukewarm. And I just started talking to all these guys about what they're in for. And I thought, this is really good, because when you preach on the street, these people walk away. But these people, they've got nowhere to go. They got nowhere to run over here. So I got them trapped over here. So I started talking to a couple of the people, and a lot of them were really open. So some of the guys, right when I started talking to them, they said, hey, you need to do a Bible study with us later on. And and we started to have Bible studies with these guys. And I thought, what would be a good thing to study? And I thought, hey, 1 John, that would be a good book to study on. What does it mean to be a real Christian? Right. And I thought I was going to have Bible studies with these guys, and they're going to argue at me and say, no, you're wrong. But I just went out there and just grilled these guys, talking about what it means to be a real Christian, that if you love God, you will keep His commandments. By this we know that we know Him if we keep His commandments. He who sins is of the devil. And these guys just sat out quietly, just listening. So it was really amazing, just having Bible studies in such a demonic place. I think some of the worst thing about jail is you preach on the streets, you hear all this filth, all this craziness, for 5-6 hours, and then you leave. But this, you're just engulfed in this, and people cussing, all this wicked stories. the worst things you can ever imagine, and you wake up and you go to sleep hearing these things. So it's kind of, I think I kind of know what Lot felt in Sodom and Gomorrah over there. So I got to have Bible studies with these guys, heard these guys pray, heard guys that never prayed before pray and cry out to God, asking for guidance. So it's, you know, we shouldn't just be street preachers. We should be preachers everywhere we go. You know, at the food market, at the gas station, wherever we go, we can witness. God can use us. And you know, there was a lot, I guess, worry about what's going to happen, but just trusting God. You know, I really thank Ruben and all the guys helping me out, and you know, a lot of people really reached out to me through this thing. It's good to know that there's good brothers and sisters that still love you, and in what you do and willing to support you. One of the best times in jail, of course, was we have this rec room, there's some newspapers, there's a little TV that's around like this, and everybody's watching TV and watching the news. You know, I'm just watching the news, and I look up and I say, hey, that's Ruben right there preaching at Anaheim. And that was the best part of jail for me. That was the biggest refreshment. That was the biggest refreshment ever. And I was trying to say, like, I kind of know these guys, but they weren't really into it. And that was just amazing. And then after a couple of days, they took me in a cord. They chain you up they chain 4 people up, and they on your feet, on your arms, and they take you in on a bus. They take you in a cord, and they say, hey, Louisiana actually wants to take you in. You're going to go to Louisiana over here. And I thought, you know, I didn't know what was happening, but I was, you know, just trusting God of, you know, jail, you know, it's not a pleasant place, but in jail there's just so much free time. Just free time to read the Bible, to pray, to seek God. And I think, you know, wherever we are in life, God will bless us. And we can bloom wherever we are. So it was just a great 23 days of my life, you know, just me and the Lord, and just preaching and witnessing to all these guys. You know, at first I got treated like everyone else, but after, you know, preaching to all these guys, you know, people started treating me different, you know, in a sense with some kind of awe. You know, one of the main guys that was in jail, that he kind of was in charge there, he came to the Bible study. We would be reading the Bible, discussing, and he'd come and listen, and then leave, and then come and listen again. And then he came up to me afterwards and he said, yeah, man, I need that in my life. So it was a great opportunity to witness to all these guys, to be a light of the world. So yes, we are gonna go to jail, guys. Sometime we're gonna go to jail, some longer than others, but we can prosper wherever we are. So finally, they let me out after 23 days, and now I love life, I appreciate life, the food tastes better, everything is awesome, and I love to be amongst you guys. So it's a great privilege. God bless you guys.
I got a phone call from Brother Jed Friday night, and he told me Mikhail has been arrested, and we don't know what to do. You know, Bible college just don't teach you that stuff. Right. And so, okay, we need to find out what the charges were. So I made some phone calls, and I found out that, you know, he was arrested as a felon, and his bail was going to be $100,000. If we came up with the bail money, we were going to lose the bail money. And because he was a felon and the warrant was in another state, there was nothing we can do. We're going to lose the money. And so at that point, I'm scrambling, trying to get an attorney over in New Orleans so that he can work at it, because that's ground zero. And so I did get an attorney. By Sunday, the attorney is already working on the case to try to get Mikhail out. And so the city attorney in New Orleans had actually said, we don't have enough charges. The guy's not who he said he was. Evidently, the gal accused him of a crime he didn't do by a photograph. And they had arrested him for that. The city attorney kept him in there a long time, even after she says we don't have a case. I'm constantly harboring on my attorney. As a matter of fact, the last time I talked with him, I said, don't let me fly out to New Orleans. So both of us are going to go inside that city attorney's office, and there's going to be, I'll probably get arrested. I'm going to start flipping over some tables. Do your job or I'm going to fire you, counselor. I mean, there's so much going on because I wanted to get this man out of jail. And we're trying to work on it. If you guys ever get arrested, we're working on it. And my attorney actually said, Ruben, I don't think you understand. This is New Orleans. This city hates your guts. They tried to make laws for people like you.